Surviving 3 recessions working in media production. Well, it's early April 2020. It's a rainy day. Much like the rest of the world, I am sheltering in place at home, and I've had a lot of downtime to self-reflect on weathering the previous 2 recessions. And I made a little list here. I thought it'd be interesting to share, a little cathartic to work through some of the positive things that came out of the last 2, and then finally I'll end with just where I'm at right now and how I've prepared and am currently handling the present situation in 2020. So back in 2000, I worked for a technology company. They were a startup, but we had significant revenue. We had about 30 people on staff. I was an employee. I think I was like the 6th or 7th hire out of 30. There were 2 founders of the company, the principals, and we'd taken down venture capital to fund it. But come around 2000, we were just about revenue neutral. We're only bleeding a little bit each month, but we were like right on the edge of crossing over to being profitable. And the NASDAQ tech correction happened. And unfortunately, most of our customers at the time were technology companies and more so .com companies. And those were all the companies that we used to joke cynically, I guess I still do, that you had a lot of these new solutions that were searching for a problem. So all these tech companies had these business plans, but there wasn't necessarily a kind of logical profitability on it other than trying to sell the company. So I worked in the video production department where we created marketing and training videos for our customers, and we also had a big workload of in-house training and marketing collateral. And it was around April 2000, as I recall, when they let everyone go and made the decision to just shut the company down. We had we're trying to secure a next round of funding, and it basically fell through. It was supposed to happen again right around the time that the NASDAQ crashed. So I, myself and 2 other employees stuck around even after our paycheck stopped, working for the CTO. And we basically negotiated a deal where instead of getting paid, we could acquire some of the gear. We had a lot of equipment on site. We had an on-site data center. We had 2 editing workstation edit bays with racks and tape decks and servers and a lot of specialty encoding, video encoding hardware. Because back then, encoding with software was extremely slow. So we had like this big, like 4 or 5U MPEG encoding piece of hardware, and then we had another multiple custom-built hardware-accelerated workstations for encoding Windows media. So I picked up an editing bay, an After Effects workstation, a 7-foot rack full of tape decks, SCSI drives, and encoding hardware, a Canon XL1 DV camera package with a basic light kit and a couple of microphones, and moved all of that stuff to my 2-bedroom apartment. And then in parallel to that, when the company made the decision to shut down, we were midstream on multiple customer projects where the company had accepted a 30 to 50% initial deposit. And I felt a personal obligation. I'd built relationships with these clients to deliver. And my boss, who became my business partner, kind of agreed. And same thing. So we all kind of pooled our resources and decided, all right, we're going to struggle through this. We're going to get all these video projects done. And we'll just figure out how to survive on the back end final payments that were due. And so I set up an editing bay in my apartment and a second After Effects workstation in the spare bedroom. I put that 7-foot equipment rack in the hallway by the front entrance, and I cut holes through the drywall from the living room into that spare bedroom to run all the conduit for CRT monitors, SCSI drive connections, 9-pin serial cables to control the tape decks that were in the other room. So as the months ticked by in early 2000, I want to say about a month and a half, maybe 2 months without any income. And I was eligible for unemployment, but I felt like I had enough momentum going with these projects and we had checks coming in. I didn't file for unemployment. I managed to spread the gap with what little reserves I had saved up, and my overhead was super low. I had an apartment, 2-bedroom apartment, I think it was like $950, maybe $1,050 a month. And I was only paying half the rent there. I had a used car. I had a cargo van, equipment van at the time, because I was also freelancing. I had a payment on the van. It was around $450 a month. So rent, van loan payment, and student loans. That was the scope of my debt. and I don't remember the student loan payments. I don't know. All in, I was probably 2,000, 2,300 a month in debt obligations. And then as we got up and running, I started selling equipment that we weren't using. The first thing I sold was that XL1 on eBay, sold some of the lighting. So that's how I got my start being an entrepreneur. 4 of us stuck around when the company imploded, and that turned into, over 9 years' time, right up to 2009, a little production company and digital agency where I was one of 4 founding partners. And we grew right up to '09, and that was recession number 2. Fourth quarter '08, things were slowing down. I was hearing from vendors and other freelance crew that we were working with on productions that, work had slowed down. We're watching the Lehman Brothers thing happen, and the stock market and the mortgage crisis. We're also doing commercials, broadcast commercials for several local mortgage companies that were imploding. But I was a little overconfident and felt kind of immune to the recession around us. So we had lots of deposits in, active contracts. We were super busy. I was working crazy hours. August 2008, I worked every day of the month, either on set, traveling to the next set, or back at the office in post, straight through weekends, red-eye flights. We had one day where we had shoots. We had a shoot in Times Square, a shoot in Seattle, Texas, San Diego, and Irvine. 5 mid-sized productions, all on the same date in the calendar. It was amazing. So we got right up to a Friday in '09, and I remember, kind of regret it now, boasting on the phone with someone that, we're super slammed, we're gonna just keep going, it's great. And come that next Monday, and like everything stopped. We stopped getting follow-up emails from customers, waiting on revision rounds. The checks stopped flowing in. And then it was like the 1-2 punch for us. The receivables, aging invoices on projects that had already shipped, had gone from slow pay to no pay to now no one answering the phone, customer side, and then no new business coming in. And we had this big payroll, we had a lease on a building, we had some business debt, and it was scary times. And we had some capital, and looking back, we should have been a lot more aggressive with letting people go early on. We barely hung on. We made it into 2010. And then around 2011, I started to transition out of the company and just focus on being an independent director of photography, which is something I had been doing in parallel the whole time we were building that company. And that company's still around and in business. They've managed to weather it. And I checked in, and kind of in a similar boat to everyone else right now. They've had a lot of projects cancel, ad campaigns placed on hold, but they're buckled down, and they'll make it through. In '09, the way I managed my sanity was I would ride my bike on a bike trail from the house. I would do sometimes 30 miles 3 days a week, and then shorter rides in between. And I remember riding on that bike path, spinning, and thinking, this is the one thing I can do that's not costing me, that's not burning cash. My overhead had grown considerably since the previous recession. I was now married, homeowner with a large mortgage. We had 3 vehicles. I had my work truck, a daily driver. My wife had a car. Still had student loan payments. Had a young baby. Let's see, he would have been 3 at that point, 2.5, 3. And no other debt that I recall of. No credit card debt. Really just, mortgage and student loan, and fortunately, no car payments. Now, my memory is a little bit different than reality. I went back in QuickBooks and looked at the reports. I was thinking I went a couple of months with 0 or negative cash flow, but the reality is every month I had something flowing in. I never had a situation where there was 0 income, but it was lean and light from March of 2009 right up until October of 2010. And then that Q4 2010, it was a rocket ship for us. It's like a surge, and television advertising came back, trade show videos, marketing and how-to online videos. We were doing product videos that would feature on Amazon for different manufacturers, product overviews. We were just cranking. And 2011, I started to separate from the partners at the company. I just wanted to refocus and be just a director / cinematographer full-time. So it took several years to kind of unwind, and for those years, the agency was my primary client, and I was also an equity partner there, but my ownership shrinking as I exited out. So here we are, March 2020, and prior to March 17th, which was my last shoot day, the Q1 of this year was on track to be one of my personal bests, and I had business booked all the way out into July. Not holds, but like confirmed, a lot of event-related projects, or I had a broadcast project that was connected to deliverables for an air date. I was looking really solid. I remember commenting in early March, I'm like, if just these confirms happen and no new business comes in, I'm good. We're in great shape through July for income and cash flow. Starting in early March, I got back from a shoot in Pennsylvania, and while I was in Pennsylvania, projects were starting to cancel. And my first week back in town, I think it was the first week of March, cancel, get all the way up to March 17th, and I'm looking at an empty calendar into the future. Nothing, everything on hold. And I've essentially been at home since. Again, like the rest of the world, we've been running out to the grocery store about once a week and walking the dog here in the neighborhood. And that's essentially it. So here's my current cash flow plan while sheltering in place. This is based on multiple discussions with other colleagues in the business. We're all in the same situation. I'm counting on that stimulus check. The latest is those direct deposits. If you have filed with your bank account electronically on your previous tax returns, those payments are stimulus payments are supposed to start landing next week. So we scrambled and we filed early on 2019. And based on my 2019 filing, we're eligible for married filing jointly, one dependent, it's $2,900. However, I don't know if I'm going to get that check next week or in the coming weeks, or if it will get delayed until next year, based on whether the IRS is going to look at my 2018 return to send right now, or if they will see my 19 that I submitted last week to be able to issue a check next week. We'll see. The second piece of that is I had about $4,700 due back. I overpaid for 2019, so I'm also hoping that that check, which is set up to deposit directly into my bank account, will land in the coming weeks. And those two things, buy me another month or more of overhead to cover my mortgage payments, insurance, health insurance, cost of living. So beyond that, I'm hoping that buys me a month. I've got a 3-month cash reserve at the moment, so no new income and no big surprise expenses. I've got about a 3-month runway of cash in the bank. I have not filed for unemployment yet, although I am eligible. And here's my thinking on why. I'm counting on this small business payroll protection loan that I'm sure you're already aware of it, but because I'm an S corporation, because I'm a W-2 salaried employee, my wife is also a W-2 salaried employee, we are pre-eligible for that SBA payroll protection program loan, and I've already applied through my bank where I do my business banking. I got the confirmation back that they received my application, but it was like just a kind of a one-page application. I know there's going to be follow-up from underwriting where I would assume they're going to want to see a P&L from the business tax returns, W-2 payroll statements, and so I'm hoping that kicks in. And the cynic in me is worried that just from getting other lines of credit, business loans, and mortgages in the past, it's like that all takes 1 to 3 months to happen. So based on that, I've got that 3 months to carry, and then at some point I'll get that payroll protection loan. Hopefully that covers 8 weeks, 2 months of payroll. So that gets me 3 plus 5. That gets me to 5 months of runway, and then I've had checks have been coming in the last 2 weeks from business that was finished in December through early March, and fortunately that was enough receivables to pay all of my April bills, and I think I've got May covered as well. As it stands right now, if that loan doesn't come through, it'll be June 1st when I start burning my savings. And then once I exhaust those 3 months, if we're still not back to work, let's see, that puts me out into like October. We have to be back to work at that point. And if not, I've got a line of credit that I can start tapping at 5.2%. However, based on, I had a credit line in '09, and that thing was locked out within weeks of the start to the recession. So I imagine my current line, something similar is going to happen, but I'm hesitant to pull 10 or 20 grand out of that credit line because I don't want to start paying the additional 5.2% interest on that cash until I need it. The Small Business Administration disaster loan and $10,000 grant that may or may not be repayable. I'm not really sure. I did apply for that back on March 30. I haven't even received a confirmation, so I'm not putting any hope in that $10,000 grant. I mean, that'll be amazing if it flows in, but frankly, I just hope that this whole pandemic is resolved quickly in the next 4 weeks, and I'll be able to get back to work before I've burned up all of my savings. So that's where I'm at, sheltering in place, and my plans for the next couple months. Love to hear any other ideas or what you're doing as a small business owner to weather through the current crisis. I started digitizing old videotapes. I've got on the shelf to my left here boxes of cassettes going back to the early 90s, VHS, Super VHS, DV, Mini DV, DV Cam, DVC Pro, DVC Pro HD, HD Cam, Beta Cam, and some audio cassettes. I briefly worked as a DJ at a radio station when I was in college, and I've got some of my aircheck tapes. I don't have a way to play those. And tape formats, I got a beta deck that I hope spools up, Betacam SP sitting over there. And right now I'm just chugging through mostly Super VHS from my, I'm looking at tapes I made back in high school at the moment, which is kind of cool, bringing back memories. I'm glad I hung on to them. So I'm getting a couple of cassettes diged per day, and then I'm transcoding them on my computer from ProRes to H.264 just to keep the file sizes manageable. But lots of little projects like that. I should do some touch-up painting here in the house. I got all the materials I need to do it. I just got to motivate myself to hustle and get something done. Get some exercise. Let me know your comments below. Let me know what you're doing to weather these times, and particularly interested if you're a freelancer or a small business owner, what kind of strategies you have in place that I haven't thought of. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.